Kashiraj's justice. Karuna was the queen of King Kashiraj. She was born into a prosperous royal family. The palace lacked no luxury or comfort. Numerous maids and servants were always at her service. Surrounded on all sides by pleasure and opulence, she had never known what sorrow was. Queen Karuna was extraordinarily beautiful. The king adored her immensely. Whatever she said was treated like a command fulfilled without delay. It was a bitterly cold day. Icy winds pierced through bones. That day, the queen decided to bathe in the Varuna River. The king ordered that all routes to the river be sealed and all riverbanks be cleared and the villagers living in the huts to be evacuated far a day and living in tents. As per his command, even the huts of the poor near the ghats were evacuated. People who had been living there for years were forced to leave. The queen arrived at the riverbank with 100 of her maids. They all stepped into the shimmering waters of the Varuna and began to bathe. But the water was freezing. Soon the queen began to shiver uncontrollably. Her lips trembled with cold. She cried out in a quivering voice,
"I am freezing to death. Light a fire quickly."
Her maids started walking towards the forest to fetch firewood, but the queen stopped them. She said,
"Why go so far? Look, there's a straw hut right here. Set it on fire."
The maids gasped in horror. They folded their hands and pleaded,
"Your Majesty, please don't. That hut might belong to some poor family. If it burns down, what will they be left with?"
But Queen Karuna, unaware of compassion despite her name, snapped back angrily.
"Do you want your queen to freeze to death? It's just a hut. Burn it now."
One maid hesitated again. "But my queen, that poor soul's entire life may be in that hut."
You care more for that hut than for your queen's life? Obey me at once."
Fearing punishment and bound by duty, the companions reluctantly set the straw hut on fire. One by one, multiple huts were engulfed in flames. All were reduced to ashes. The queen warmed herself by the fire, then wrapped herself in warm clothes and returned to the palace, as if nothing had happened. Next day, the royal court was overwhelmed by crying villagers. Women wept, children trembled, and the elderly leaned on canes, all pleading before the king for justice.
What wrong did we do, Your Majesty? Why were our homes burned down?
Is being poor a crime? Why did the queen do this to us?
King Kashiraj was stunned. He turned to his ministers and asked,
"Is this true?"
The minister bowed his head in shame.
"Yes, Your Majesty. It was done on the Queen's orders."
A heavy silence filled the court. After a moment, the king stood and said,
"My queen is dearer to me than life itself, but justice must stand above all. If a king's justice turns blind, then the faith of his people dies. Queen Karuna shall live for 1 month in one of those huts, without any luxury, without comfort. Only then will she understand the suffering she caused."
A wave of approval swept the court. Tears filled the villagers' eyes. But now those tears held hope. The king appointed bodyguards for Queen's safety, but her punishment was inevitable. That night, as Queen Karuna lay on the cold, ashen floor, surrounded by the sobs of children and the wailing of mothers, something shifted inside her. For a whole 1 month, she cooked for herself and washed her own clothes. She also distributed bags of wheat to the people who suffered from the fire. For the first time, she truly felt what Karuna, compassion, meant. By morning, she ordered the rebuilding of every poor family's hut. She sold her jewels to fund their relief. The king smiled and said,
"Now you truly live up to your name, Karuna."
Moral of the story: a true king is one who delivers justice before all. A true queen is one who learns compassion from her people's pain.